Welcome back to Lost in Livy. I'm Donald, and if you've been following my channel for a while, you'll know that I set out to show the traffic-free path network that I enjoy in Livingston. It's pretty much entirely comprehensive. There's one little pluke in the neb, as it were, that's due to be fixed soon. One thing I've never really done is compare a journey by bicycle to a journey by motor vehicle. Now, I do a weekly commute. Since I retired a few years ago, I've signed up for a volunteer shift once a week at the West Lothian Bike Library, which is about 5 kilometres away across the town, and most times I travel by bike. So what's coming up is a video showing my journey by bike alongside the same journey made in my only motor vehicle, my Campervan, which some of you will know I use for longer leisure trips with my Brompton bike. The trip in town is done on my Tern HSD. It's a small utility e-cargo bike. And what comes up is a comparison of the two journeys. We start off where the two routes coincide on the Nelburn path, where it passes under Dean's East Road. And thereafter the two routes take their own way through the town to arrive at the West Lothian Bike Library in Dedridge West, near at Crofthead Farm Centre. What's probably immediately obvious looking at these two clips side by side is the amount of greenery going by bike. There's quite a fair number of trees lining the road for going by on the van. You don't really notice them so much because there's so much other traffic to keep tabs on, and you're constantly trying to avoid the worn out sections of the road where the van crashes and thumps along. It can be quite noisy and actually quite uncomfortable in the van. Whereas on the bike, it's quite smooth. The paths don't get so worn out. In fact, they hardly get worn out at all. In a couple of sections, the path has recently been completely renewed. Apart from a few pedestrians walking their dogs, and it's perfectly normal to meet these people, and it's a shared use path. Where a ring of the bell and waiting to get some acknowledgement that they've heard the bell and pass as slowly as necessary for everybody's safety. It's really a very pleasant thing to go on a bicycle. It's quite comfortable, and the wind in my hair through my helmet in the hair, and sometimes a little bit of refreshment from the rain, but overall, riding the bike is quite an energising activity, and gets the heart rate going a little bit, and the breathing is increased, and these are all good things which should ensure I spend a little bit less time using the auspices of the NHS as I get older. journey distance by road is, I've measured all this in kilometres using the Garmin tracking device from my bike. The road journey measures 5.2 kilometres, and it took me 10.5 minutes from where we started the recording to parking the van in the car park. By contrast, on the bike it's only 4.9 kilometres, slightly more direct, and surprisingly it doesn't take that much longer, 13.5 minutes from starting the recording to actually cycling into the compound at the bike library. So an extra 3 minutes just it's hardly anything really. And by the time I've parked the van and walked from the van into the same place where I stopped the clock for the bike, you're probably only talking a couple of minutes difference over a 5 kilometre journey. I've been kind of nerdy over the years, keeping records of just about every penny spent on my various modes of transport, so I know pretty accurately the cost per mile or the cost per kilometre for just about every vehicle I've cycled or driven over the years. The current cost of diesel, taking into account all the mileage related items, so consumables such as tyres and brake pads and brake discs, and that applies to the bike as well. Mileage related cost of driving the van is 38 pence per mile, which works out at 23.6 pence per kilometre. By comparison, the e-bike uses around about 5% of a 400 watt hour battery, and taking that into account alongside the cost of replacement tyres and brake discs and pads over the years or over the time, the e-bike cost works out at just under 1.5 pence per kilometre. Compare that to 23.6 pence per kilometre for the van, and you come up with a cost of getting from A to B on this particular commute, £1.23 pence by van, 7.35 pence by bike. There's a difference in the emissions as well. In terms of the bike, the 20 watts or so that's being used out of the battery is almost negligible in terms of its carbon footprint, and there are no emissions from a bicycle. Whereas the van, well, it's a Euro 5 diesel van. I've no idea how to calculate it, but I'm pretty confident, especially for a short local journey starting from cold, that I've dumped a fair amount of carbon monoxide, hydrocarbons, nitrous oxides and particulate matter into the air in making that journey. I feel a wee bit guilty about that, and it's one reason why I tend to use the bike for almost every local journey where I can. So there's my weekly commute to the bike library. It's a place where it's a not-for-profit community interest company, where we have a fleet of adaptive bikes where people with assistance needs can come along, borrow a bike, try it out, see how they get on, because these are pretty specialist bikes and they're usually custom made to order. So it gives somebody a chance to try out different types of bikes or different sizes of these bikes. And one of my roles as a bike mechanic is to maintain that fleet of bikes. We have a fleet of bikes also that we use for bikeability lessons in schools, and we go around local schools for those bikeability lessons. And funding, well, there's all the usual applications for funding from whatever source we can get, and in addition to that we accept donations of bicycles which we then restore. Sometimes we restore them, sometimes they're broken up for parts, sometimes they go straight to the scrappy, but for the most part we either get parts or complete bikes and we restore them to a usable state, which can then be donated on. We've been donating quite a lot recently to Ukrainian refugees, and sometimes the bikes are sold to go to contribute towards the cost of parts and just the general running costs of the bike library. If you're interested in more of that, I'll put a link to the bike library's website in the description down below. I'm not really trying to make any particular statements about bike versus van. I think it's pretty obvious to me that for a three-minute difference, it's well worth taking the bike. That's the way I feel about it. I'd love it if people were to ditch cars for shorter journeys and to find other ways of getting about. Active travel is certainly a great thing for health benefits, not just for environmental benefits. And I think the day is coming when, well, the cost benefit too, but I think the day is coming where we are going to find our ability to use motor vehicles as we have done, pretty restricted in the future. But anyway, that's just my thoughts. If you've followed me this far, thanks for watching, and ride with me again, Lost in Livy.